Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about my birthing experience, but before I get to that I just wanted to add something to last time's video about my pregnancy story, about how I found out that I was having a boy, which was very unprofessional the way I found out. So I had my 3-month checkup and I was going to have it by a different doctor this time. He was a specialist. So I'd never met this man before. I went into the office with my sister and my mother, and he was a very awkward person. So I mean, he didn't really talk much, so he told me to lie down, and he started the ultrasound, and he was there measuring the head, I don't know, measuring all sorts of things. So as he was going along, he was like, this is the head, these are the feet, it's a boy. And we weren't prepared to find out what it was. We didn't even know if he could tell then. And we were just like shocked. And he just went on and on talking about the baby. And we were just like, what? It's a boy? So yeah, that was my strange experience. He never asked us if we want to find out what I'm having. It was very strange. I mean, I did want to find out, but still, I mean, they have to ask before they let you know. Anyways, so on to my birthing experience. So it was about 10 o'clock at night, I think, or 9 o'clock at night when we left the house to go to the hospital. My doctor was going to meet me there. And on the drive, on the way to the hospital in the car, it was really awkward. It was about a 40-minute drive, and my husband and I were just sitting in the car in silence. We didn't know what to say. It was really awkward. I mean, it's such a surreal feeling that when you're going to give birth, I mean, you don't know what to expect. I was excited, I was ready to give birth. I mean, I was nervous and excited in a good way, not scared really, but it was still really strange. It was a really strange feeling. It stuck with me till now. So I got to the hospital, I checked in, I got ready. They put me in a gown and put me into the birthing room. They had to put an IV into my arm. So without anything though, they didn't actually attach it to anything. They just put it in and hooked me up to the monitor, and at that moment they saw that the baby's heartbeat had really dropped. So up until then my pregnancy had been fine, nothing had gone wrong, everything was perfect. So that was really strange. They asked me to turn on my side. Again, nothing changed. I switched sides a few times, nothing changed. So I don't know what it was at that time, because I mean, we were starting to panic. That's the moment that Saiki, my husband, had just entered the room so he can be with me. And there were like nurses and doctors coming in and out trying to figure out what was going on with me. So they gave me a shot of something into my IV. And all of a sudden my veins literally went black up until all the way up my arm, and the room just started spinning. I felt so sick. I couldn't keep my eyes open because everything was spinning. I vaguely remember that time, to be honest. I remember feeling really sick and telling them that I wanted to vomit. They kept on putting cold towels all over me. I just know that I think my husband told me it was about 20 minutes that went on. So I was kind of out of it. I really felt sick. I wasn't sick in the end, but it was a horrible feeling. So after that went away, after I calmed down, everything, I mean, was back to normal. I had already asked my doctor, I had already told her that I wanted an epidural. So after that calmed down and the baby's heartbeat went back to normal, because if it hadn't gone back to normal, they told me afterwards that I would have gone for an emergency C-section, which I really wanted to avoid. So they told me that it's better if they break my waters to get the process going. So they decided to give me the epidural before they broke my waters, but they explained to me that it's going to be a very light epidural, and then just before I give birth they're going to give me the full dose, the normal dose. So they did that, and that was quite painful, getting the epidural into my spine. And then I remember they put in the, I don't know, anesthesia into the epidural, and I remember going half numb, so only half of me was numb down there, so basically I could feel pretty much everything. So they had to break my waters, which was actually quite painful. I didn't know it was going to be that painful. I think that might have been the most painful part of the entire process, and them checking how many centimeters I'm dilated all the time. I think that and breaking my waters was the most painful part of the entire pregnancy. Up until now I'd been having full-on contractions, but I wasn't really feeling them. I had light pressure, so I was lucky with that. And then after I got my epidural and the water broke, I was just chatting to the midwife. We were talking about where she should take her twins on vacation. It was really relaxed. We were just chatting away with my husband and the midwife all night long. I think it was about 2 or 3 in the morning, and she was like, okay, we gotta get on with this. Like, I have to take my children to school in the morning, so please give birth before like 7 in the morning. So anyway, she was just joking, and so she asked me to push a few times. So we were just like talking about where should we go on vacation this summer. She was like, okay, give it a push. I was like, oh, maybe you should go to this island or go here, and this is a pretty nice hotel. And we just went on having our conversation, giving a few pushes and back and forth. And then at some point she asked my husband, she's like, oh, we can see the head. Would you like to take a look? And he was like, no thank you. And so basically I pushed all night on and off until it was time to deliver. And they had to, this is how they do it here, I had to be wheeled into the theater, so in the surgical room, and pretty much from the time that I was in the theater till the time I gave birth, I think it was maybe like 8 minutes. Psyche was in there too with me. He was up here, so he couldn't see much, but even though he told me he could pretty much see everything. So there I had to like push really hard. There were one nurse on each leg pulling it back. My midwife was pressing down on my stomach with all her strength, trying to like ease the baby out. My gynecologist right there at the end to catch it. I remember pushing really hard, and they were like, come on, you can do it, you can do it. I'm not a really cheery person, so you know, it was kind of, I didn't know what to say at that point, but anyways, that's not really my thing. So we're like, oh yeah, you can do it, come on, push, push, push. And my midwife was pushing so hard down on me that I couldn't take a breath. So I was like, I can't breathe. So they let go, I took a deep breath, and finally I like gave it my big push, and the baby came out, and my doctor like picked it up like this, and she was like, here's your son, and they wrapped him up in a towel and gave him to me. And she was like, oh my god, this is such a funny moment. I was like smiling, I had a huge smile on my face, and Psyche was crying. So she's like, oh, this is so funny, one of you's crying, the other one's laughing, and it was really nice. So I got to hold him for a few minutes, and then they took him away to weigh him and, I don't know, check on him. And then she was like, oh, and here's the placenta. She was like holding it there like for us to see anyway. So I was like, okay, great, thank you very much. I didn't have to see that. So after that, they took the baby out for my family to see, and Saki went with the baby. So everybody, my sister and my parents were waiting outside, and they got to see the baby just a few minutes after he was born. And I had to stay in because I had to get an episiotomy. So they had to stitch me up, and then I went into recovery for a couple of hours, which I didn't really need because, I mean, I was okay, where I had to wait there, and they just brought the baby over for maybe 10 minutes, and I got to breastfeed him because that's what I wanted to do. And I breastfed him for a little bit, and then they had to take him away again, and I kept on asking when I'm gonna get him back, and they kept on ignoring me, which really annoyed me. So I had to stay there for, I don't know, a couple of hours till they took me up to the room. So I was there with a bunch of other women that had just given birth, and they're all chatty, and I was exhausted. It was by now 5 or 6 in the morning. I gave birth at 4:20, so I think they must have wheeled me up around 6:30 to the room, and apparently they'd been calling my husband to tell him which room I was in, but the moment they started calling out to tell him, he had gone to the bank to get money or coffee, I don't know what he was doing, so he missed it. So I went up to the room, and I was waiting for, I don't know how long, I mean obviously I didn't have a watch on, but I was waiting for a really long time for him. I was starting to get really pissed off. I was like, where the hell is he? Where is my baby? I kept on asking people. No one had an answer for me, so I hadn't seen my baby in, I don't know, 3 hours now. I mean, that was really frustrating. I wasn't in pain yet because I was still kind of numb. Even though right after I gave birth, they took out the epidural, and I was just fed up, you know. I'd given birth to my baby, I wanted to see my baby, I wanted to share it with my husband, and he wasn't there to you know, do this with me. Anyways, after, I don't know, a while, he came up, he finally found out where I was, and I don't know how much time passed, and they wheeled the baby in, so we got to have our little family time. And a while after that, people started visiting, which was a bad idea, which second time round I wouldn't do it. I think it's normal because everybody, I mean, Psyche's parents wanted to see the baby and see me, his siblings, my parents, my sisters, so, and I was excited because I just had my baby. I was, I mean, on an adrenaline rush, so I couldn't feel the exhaustion yet, but people were coming in and out to congratulate me, to see how we are, and okay, both our parents thought that, you know, the best thing is to be there with us, and it was nice to have people around, but at some point I couldn't even get up to pee. There were so many people there. I felt uncomfortable telling them to get out. I was still wearing the gown, which is open around the back, so I couldn't get up. I didn't know what I was gonna face when I finally went to the toilet because I didn't know what was going on down there. So by the time I actually got a chance and mucked up the courage to like tell everyone to get out, I almost peed myself. So later on in the day, finally everybody, you know, decided to go home, and we told them that we need to rest. I was exhausted by that time. I mean, I hadn't slept in over 24 hours. I mean, it was crazy. Tension, everything was just building up, and I was getting tired. I was starting to feel the pain every time I breastfed. Oh my god, I mean, it was really painful. I couldn't breathe when he latched on. It was so hard on me. I mean, and we had no trouble breastfeeding. He latched on straight away. I mean, it was easy, but even though everything went right, it's still really painful. I mean, that was really, but it only lasted for the first few seconds. So, okay, that pain and the pain down below, I could barely sit. The stitches were really starting to sting. By the end of the night, I was so tired, exhausted, in pain. I just started crying. I was asking for painkillers. Anyways, I'm even tearing up now thinking about it. But it was, overall, it was really, it was a good experience. The whole birthing process was a good experience. It wasn't too stressful. I mean, we were sitting there chatting all night. It was pretty good, and it was great that I had the epidural and I couldn't, you know, I couldn't feel everything. I could feel most of it, but not everything. And I'm really glad I made that choice. In the next video, I'll be talking about the next few weeks, so the first few weeks with my baby, and basically what the 4th trimester is all about and my experience with it. Also, I'll be talking about my experience with postpartum depression that hit me really hard. I didn't even know I had it for the first few months. How I got through it, how it affected myself and my husband and our little family, how I got out of it, just everything there is to know about my experience with postpartum depression, in the hopes that I might even, I don't know, help someone. That's what I'm hoping to do with all this. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please subscribe if you haven't already, and give it a thumbs up. And down below I have linked my blog, my other social media, and my contact information. So yeah, I'll talk to you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!